the idea that you would quit your job because there's a baby on the way.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm like, hey, my brother, I know we've been afraid, yeah? But that's why it's giving Noah vibes. The last day comes, I'm driving to the warehouse to drop off all this equipment and tools. And it sinks in that, okay, now, like this time next month, there is no paycheck. So now what, you know? And first like few days, I'm like, I'm gonna rest.
Yeah.
So I rest, and then I start panicking. I'm like, okay, no, this needs to be a business. Like, you know, like
it's no longer a side
hustle. It's no longer a side hustle. Like media marketing, let's make it a business.
Yeah.
And so start building procedures in place.
If, for example, I am going to make sure I don't miss a birthday, I'm not gonna miss a soccer training, I'm not gonna miss a piano recital, I'm gonna be there for those big moments. If I'm gonna be there, it might mean that I'm not there for the big meetings. I'm not there abroad having that kind of business meeting or going to speak at that conference because I know that, you know, it's a graduation, so I need to be home for the graduation. So I'm gonna say no to that opportunity. I'm gonna say no to that gig. I'm gonna say no to that promotion.
I remember coming home from school on Friday, and I told my dad, I don't think I want to divorce it. My old man looked at me. My mom was in the room. Looked at me. He's like, not in my household.
Oof.
And he stood up and he left. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the only control you have is what's in your hands
right now.
Right now. What's in your hands, use that.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can't control anything else.
Yeah. You can't control the outcome.
You can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
And so you can only control the environment you're in.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Exactly. Not absolute control.
Not absolute control.
Manny.
Oh, what to do?
Your boy Emmanuel, you good, bro?
I'm good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for chatting with me today and taking the time. And I thought today we can just, like, I want us to talk a bit about our, you know, this decade. I remember 2020, when 2020 hit. Was it 2020? I think somewhere there. And I would say to, like, my friends and people around me, I'm like, this is a very pivotal decade for our generation, our age group, because in this decade it's going to be so much happening. 100%. People getting jobs, getting promotions, going overseas, buying cars, buying houses, getting married, having babies, you know, like it's going to be all of this kind of activity in whatever fashion and whatever order going to be happening. So it's going to be a very busy decade for like our generation. So I just want to talk about that from a man's perspective, you know, and this idea of us becoming men, I guess, of how is it looking, and we're now about maybe 4 years into this decade, and maybe there's been quite much activity happening, I know, even on your side. But just how we've been navigating it and how we've been viewing it, you know, viewing this season of our lives, you know, the 20s, I call it, you know, I like to say that period of your 20 to your 30s, a lot happens and there's a lot of shaping taking place. But before we dive in, I guess maybe even for people to know a bit about you, maybe who are you and what do you do?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Emmanuel. Emmanuel Maphosa. What do I do? I do a few things.
Few is an understatement.
I do a few things. Primarily own a media and marketing company where we do media campaigns, marketing campaigns for small businesses, and then I am a senior product manager at a tech company where we do software integrations, data analytics. We deal with drones, whether it's from a mapping perspective or like agricultural perspective, and we build platforms. And then lastly, I feel like this list is good, but lastly, I help startups get funded.
Okay.
So just something that's come out the woodworks in the past 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
So help startups get funded. And help people build their dreams in essence.
So if I have a startup that's happening, or a business that you're the guy to talk to,
just say, come through. Assist as best as possible. So besides the like getting people funded aspect, more so like just business development,
Yeah.
strategies on business growth, etc.
Yeah.
I think I prefer to take like a hands-on approach, because we're all learning, we're all building together.
Yeah.
And I think as we're talking about the decade, for me, what's important in this decade is collaboration.
Okay.
And so, I prefer just to collab. Like, there's nothing I do by myself.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Cool. Speaking of learning, and like I know this myself, but obviously I just want to touch on it. But you weren't always the media company and in the tech company, but you were a 9-to-5 man.
Yeah.
How did you transition into that? Because at some point you were pushing 9-to-5, you were working, you were getting the paycheck.
Yes.
How did you transition out of that?
So I had 2 9-to-5s.
2?
Yeah.
I just know the one.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
the
so-
mine. I remember the
Yeah,
mine.
so construction.
Yeah, construction.
So before that, I worked for a tech company.
Okay.
And they paid well. I'm coming out of varsity. I remember how most ridiculous way I got that job, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But get the job, start in January 2021.
Yeah.
And I'm like, big baller, making the coins.
Securing
the bag. 6 months goes down and the company's like, sorry, we have to retrench COVID.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's good.
So they retrenched me, let me go, cool. I stayed at home for like 2 months. I'm like, no ways, no way. Get into construction.
Okay.
And I'm there for a year 6 months, a year 8 months.
Yeah.
The project is coming to a close, and I remember my boss at the time coming to site and saying, right, just be aware, team, like after this project, we're not too sure what's going to happen.
Sure.
We're still planning things,
Yeah.
Primarily because the company was more invested on their mining side.
Yeah.
At least I knew that from, back knowledge of the company. And so I'm already thinking, this means I'm probably getting retrenched again, God, isn't it? And I remember driving from the Free State once, and God was like, I hope you're prepared.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, I don't know what that means, but this is probably just before the project ends. Luckily, that's when I had just started the media company.
Okay.
But I had also had the finance part of the company sorted before that. I just wasn't as invested.
Yeah.
I had a 9-to-5. Things were.
It was more of a side hustle.
It was a side hustle. It wasn't,
Yeah.
It wasn't the bread and butter.
Okay.
And the last day comes. I'm driving to the warehouse to drop off all this equipment and tools, and it sinks in that now, like this time next month, there is no paycheck.
Sure. So
now what? And first few days, I'm like, I'm gonna rest.
Yeah.
So I rest, and then I start panicking. I'm like, okay, no, this needs to be a business.
It's no longer a side hustle.
It's no longer a side hustle. Like media marketing, let's make it a business.
Yeah.
And so start building procedures in place. Start contacting almost everyone I know, man. Literally almost everyone. And a few people gave us a few opportunities on the media side.
Yeah.
A few gave us opportunities on the marketing side as well. And just been building relations since then, man. And we haven't turned back. It has been difficult at times. I think we've had the chat.
Yeah.
It's been difficult. But it's been fulfilling. It's been good. It's been good.
And what I'm hearing from this is that it's so much it's a matter of how well you network. It's a networking thing. Because unless I don't know, because clearly you do so many things. You don't have an MBA or you don't go to business school.
No.
But so it's like you're not necessarily qualified to be an entrepreneur. I don't even know if a person gets qualified to be an entrepreneur.
That's a sticky point for me, man.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine was asking if I recommend that they do a short course in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And no hate to anyone. Disclaimer, no hate to anyone who is either thinking about it or doing it currently.
Yeah.
But I just don't think you can teach entrepreneurship.
Sure.
I don't think you can teach that stuff.
Yeah.
I think business and short courses in depth knowledge of business are for middle management, senior management, to upskill the role they're busy with. Because all of us play a role in the company.
Yeah.
And so to perform that role well, you need to upskill yourself or reskill.
Would you say entrepreneurship is for everyone?
No.
Or can anyone become an entrepreneur? Let me phrase like that. Can anyone become an entrepreneur?
I think anyone can try. Yeah. Because I don't want to say anyone can be an entrepreneur, because I don't believe that specifically.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain level of delusion, a certain level of risk, a certain level of faith, a certain level of grit and resilience that is required.
Yeah. I think the delusion is very key.
Yeah.
And I get that one.
Yeah,
like sometimes you think of something and it's like, have you ever shared it with someone and it's like, you can see in their eyes, they're just like, you're crazy.
Many times. I remember one key moment, varsity.
Yeah.
First year. No, second year. I'm sitting in my financial management class. My professor Andrew's going through it. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
He's going through it, teaching us some. I think at the time it was something around I think earnings.
Yeah.
At the time, earnings and ratios. Cool. And after the class, a friend of mine walks up to me. He's like, "Hey man, have you ever thought of starting a business?" And I look at him and I was like, "Walk with me." We walk out, get out of campus. I'm like, "Do you see that building? Why don't we go buy it?" And he looks at me, he's like, "Okay, let me amuse you, And he did. And I was like, "Why don't you just go borrow money from a bank and buy the building? Once we buy the building, get it fully occupied, and even if we get an 80% occupancy, we'll be able to pay back the loan, pay back salaries, we'll be good."
Is it that simple? You just walk into a bank and someone's on
No, it's not. You see, this is
Okay.
second year knowledge, where it's not. But he looked at me like, this guy's crazy, but he's crazy in a good way. And I've just taken that concept to mind everywhere. Don't be afraid to do the big things.
All right, so we're going to switch gears a bit. So with that same one, how now has that translated to, I'm going to bring it now to our African context.
Sure.
I think just for me, I know my mom, I'm from Durban.
Yeah.
Mom has worked and sacrificed and done so much and got me to Johannesburg, because it's like, wow, you're going to study at Wits. Wits offered you, gave you an offer to study, accounting. I'm going to send you there. Like she sacrificed. She got a loan. I remember that time, the 2017. She took a loan and we hired a car, because we don't have a car. I hired a car. We're going to drive up to Johannesburg, get me a place to stay, and we go. And we go, we drive up and we get here, and you think of all these sacrifices, and now coming to your parents, or now maybe switching gears. I know of some people who maybe have dropped out of school to pursue business. Some of the wealthiest people in the world are people who are college dropouts, or you do finish, yourself, myself, you do finish school, but you don't necessarily pursue a career in maybe what you've studied, your field of study.
Sure.
How is that in I guess now with your family? How did they take that? How was it supportive, or did it come with a lot of criticism to be like, yo, I've been retrenched once, now this project is over, I'm not looking for another job, I'm just going to pursue this? How has that been met? So is it very supportive, or is it very like, you're mad, you're finishing school, you're going to find a job, here's a CV, apply.
Yeah. So in different moments, different opinions. So so grade 8 till about grade 10, I wanted to go to varsity. My aim was UCT, Wits, TICS, and I applied to all of them in grade 11.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of grade 11, at the end of grade 11, matric, something shifted. I was like, I don't want to go to varsity anymore.
Sure.
And I would have been, call it second generation or first generation, to go to varsity and get a degree. Right? I remember coming home from school on Friday, And I told my dad, I don't think I want to divorce it. My old man looked at me. My mom was in the room. Looked at me. He's like, not in my household.
Oof.
And he stood up and he left. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, you know. And I remember him having a conversation with me. He's like, education's important.
Yeah.
This is after matric. Like, education's important, so make a plan. And I was like, oh, okay. Funny enough, my mom came back to me. She's like, look, I had already applied on your behalf. Here, you got accepted to the school.
So you hadn't applied because you just made up your
So
mind on the go.
I did the NBTs,
Yeah,
National
yeah.
Benchmark Test, for VITS, UJ,
Okay.
TICS. This must go on record now. But I got accepted by UJ and TICS.
Okay.
And I misplaced the offer letters or the acceptance letters. Let's call it misplacement.
Call it misplacement.
And then I ended up going to a business school and studying business.
Yeah.
Business and finance. And we studied. And then I was, again, so it's different. Like, I don't want to study. I'm now studying.
Yeah.
And now I really feel like studying. Like, if I'm going to study, let's excel at studying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's do it properly.
Let's do it properly. Let's not play games. And finished the degree, and my parents are happy.
Mm.
I'm like, surely that's not all it took to make you happy. Like a degree, like,
Is that it?
that's it? Okay. But I think I've lived both.
Yeah.
Where my parents were like, ain't no way, you're
Yeah.
gonna go and study. And now my parents are like, oh, okay, business makes sense. Also, I think I was fortunate enough the time we graduated, right?
Okay.
COVID,
Yeah.
jobs were really hard to find, guys.
Mm.
Like, I got my first job off the bat and I was lucky.
Mm.
Like, I don't take that for granted. But thereafter, jobs were difficult to find.
Yeah.
And so I think that also played a pivotal role, I guess. Yeah.
So we've just spoken about of the job aspects of it.
Yeah.
So now we obviously we still, oh man, this is crazy to say we're in our mid-20s.
Yeah.
It was nice when I was early 20s.
Hey, man.
Like yesterday I was 21, bro. Like now it's a lot. It's honestly, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But okay, there's these different changes that are happening, right?
Sure.
It's these different seasons we're entering in life.
Yeah.
Now, I remember for me thinking about this, I had this moment, I think I was in grade 11 though at the time, where I questioned everything.
Yeah.
I questioned everything. I questioned the existence of God and hell, which religion is getting it right, the values I was raised by. I'm like, were they good or not?
Yeah.
You know, I just went through that season of questioning everything. I feel like everyone goes through that, maybe
100%.
to some extent. So I had that in grade 11. I was just questioning all these things, and now fast forward. Okay, I'm married, about to have my first kid.
Come on.
And there's these milestones happening, and within them, as we're going through them, you're kind of making these small decisions, which may seem small, but they really are determining who you're becoming in the process. You know, like, what do I take with me of what I've been raised by? What am I letting go of? What am I holding and taking as a value now in my season of life? That kind of stuff. How has that been, like, doing that? Like, maybe walking us through, how has it been, like, changing that for you yourself?
Sure.
And has it in any way impacted maybe the relationships around you? Maybe has it impacted your relationship with your parents, or your maybe a romantic relationship, or friendships, or just, and how's it just shaped the person Emmanuel is becoming?
Sure. So I think I must firstly state, like, I appreciate having grown up in a secure home.
Yeah.
You know, where I got a good example of love and care and kindness, but also hard work, diligence, and the time and effort it takes to, like, really build something.
Yeah.
Granted, my parents worked jobs, or work jobs still, but I think it shaped, like, just my upbringing shaped how I carry myself in today's world.
Yeah.
Right. I look at things I would take with me, like very family orientated. You know, like family comes first, family friends come first. Like anything else can wait.
Yeah.
Like I will sincerely drop anything.
Yeah.
Like, you call me and I'm there. You know, and I think my friends have experienced that. Like, call me and I'm there.
Yeah.
So that's something I would always take with me. Work ethic. Guys, work ethic. Like, take that anywhere with me.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for my mom because she taught me empathy and kindness within the same, you know. So my dad's hardworking. My mom's also hardworking. But, you know, as the man of the house, you gotta make it make sense. Make those coins come home.
Yeah.
You know? And just having both experiences, I guess, has birthed like a sensibility.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think those are characteristics I'll take with me. And I mean, of course, I don't want to speak for everyone, but like I'd like to think we all have things that we would not take with us, you know. And I'd leave like, sure, don't know what I'd leave behind. Sure, a sense of people pleasing.
I struggle with that one.
Yeah.
That one is a difficult one.
Yeah. To the point where you're always doing something for others. But there comes a point where, for me, I realized, what is it that I'm doing for myself?
Yeah.
You know, like, how am I taking care of Emmanuel?
Yeah.
And how am I getting to know Emmanuel better?
Yeah.
You know, I may know my family better than I know myself.
Yeah.
And the question then became, is that healthy?
Yeah.
But apart from that, is it beneficial to the actual family members I'm helping, you know? Whether it's in my time or whatever it is, in care. And so, going forward, I think for me, what's important is knowing oneself. So I've like somewhat crafted out my Saturdays just to get to know Emmanuel.
Yeah. So who's Emmanuel becoming currently?
Currently, hey guys, the season is real. So, you know, we all have like New Year, New Me goals.
Yeah,
you know?
New Year's
like,
resolutions
New
that
Year's
last
resolutions.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Last 2 weeks, and then this year I was writing out my vision for the year, my goals.
Yeah.
God's doing this. Psych, jokes on me. I remember doing my devotions one morning, and God was like, "Your year is Psalm 139."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, let's talk about prosperity. You know, I hadn't even read it, bro. Let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And I got to it and it was like, it's basically a psalm on repentance.
Yeah.
And a psalm about coming back to the Father. So Emmanuel is becoming content with life and not complacent.
Yeah.
Emmanuel is becoming repentant and leaning not on his own understanding.
Yeah.
But more so, Emmanuel is becoming, this sounds like a political statement, one for the people. One for the people.
Sounds like a name of a party.
Hey, one for the people. And if anyone wants to use it. There's a political name, one for the people. But really treasuring the connections, the friendships, and valuing those things that I've built.
Yeah.
And will continue to build.
Yeah.
Becoming more of a family person, becoming more of a brother, a friend, you know. Career is great, right? But I think one thing I've been challenged by is what do people know you outside of your career for? You know, I find it so interesting that the first question we ask people is, hey, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know?
Your identity is
like
you mistaken your identity for whatever it is that you do or what you know.
And that's how we get to know people.
Yeah.
Like
I'm an accountant, I'm an MD at so and so.
I'm an actuary at, you know? And it's like, no, you're Keegan, no, you're Emmanuel, no, you're Mtor, like, and I am content, you know, I am peaceful, you know? We barely ever talk about our hobbies anymore.
Bro, what even are hobbies?
What are hobbies? Like, What are hobbies?
You remember you used to put hobbies in your CV? Do you even still put those?
I don't think people put that in
their CV anymore.
So a friend of mine was telling me for a couple of years now they've been like sifting through CVs.
Yeah.
Right? So like there's a system and it looks for keywords.
Yeah.
And I don't think hobbies are part of those keywords.
Sure.
I don't think, and I may stand to be corrected, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
It doesn't look like it. So Emmanuel's just becoming content with life and more of a family man, but also just valuing God's voice over everything else.
Sure, that's a difficult one.
That's a difficult one, bro, because you're like, oh, this work looks great, this opportunity looks great. Let me chase that opportunity.
And there's just no peace of it.
There's no peace about it, bro. Like everything's good until it's not.
Yeah.
And you then realize at the end of the day that it was not worth it.
Exactly.
So,
and I want to touch on that. You see the contentment one, like you spoke on something very interesting, saying we're becoming content, but also not complacent.
yeah.
And I think that's something that really plagues us, especially as gents. You're chasing bag, you're trying to sanganisa life there, you want to get, some people they want to, get the situation better at home, family, they're just trying to uplift themselves. They're just trying to change the situation, change the narrative. Maybe 100%. It's been a history of poverty and they're trying to change that. So it's like, I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to, be content. And usually I always look at it like this. This contentment, this idea of contentment has become so negative. It's taken in the context of, I feel like they interchange contentment and complacency, and comfortability.
Yes.
But when I look at it, especially when I look at it through the lens of the Bible, it's that contentment is just knowing and understanding that God is enough and you're enough.
You're enough.
Like just at any point in time, I'm enough, I have enough because I have God. Like it's well. But it doesn't take away that I'm working towards something. It doesn't take away the commitment of I have a vision, I'm working on this. But it's that thing of saying that as I'm working, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Like as I'm working, I'm not lacking. As I'm working,
I shall not want.
That's for me when I look at contentment, So it becomes that thing now where it's like, how do we? Because I look at Jen sometimes and it's frustrating, and we have a common friend who he'll grind and he just keeps on moving. You're just like, bro, is this healthy? How are you? How has that been navigating it now? So you're saying that was like, as you're saying, that has been the word for you this year, like repentance and just contentment. Because I know, like for me, ever since I found out that my wife and I are expecting our first child, I was like, man, I wanna leave my job. And
let's make things happen.
And most people will hear that and be like, did you catch the memo? They said you're having a baby. What are you saying? You want to leave your job? You should be getting another job. You should what are you saying? What are you saying? But for me, it was a thing of, I think one thing I have in common is that for me, it's also family first. Like, I'll drop anything in a minute. I remember, it might be crazy. I wouldn't recommend this, but I remember chatting to like my senior at work, and it was at a time where it's been very busy at work, and I was feeling quite unsettled a bit because of how things have been going, and I just it's just been a go, and it was just that season in the company at that time, and I was like, I am unsettled, and I'm like, for me it's scary. It's a bit scary, let's say, because my job or career doesn't even crack the top 3, and I'm like, there are things that if they come knocking, I will drop this job in a heartbeat.
Now.
And it was like, and I said that in my mind, I was just like, you can't catch the words later. I'm like, did you just say that to your senior at work? But for me, it's like, but that is the truth for me. I'm like, there are things I drop in a minute, and already now that became testaments of it. I just find news, I'm like, I'm going to be a dad. I was like, I want to leave my job. Why? Because I want to raise my kid. I'm that intentional. I want to raise my kid. So I want to have freedom of my nights, of my hours, of my day. To be like this, I'm going to spend my day. Because when you have a job, your 8 to 4, 9 to 5, however, whatever the hours of work are, they belong to that contract you sign.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And you need to be faithful to that, to be like,
100%.
I've agreed to this. So that time, it belongs to them.
Yeah.
And they've determined that you work these hours are worth this much, which is a story of another day. You know? So I was like, I want to dictate how I'm using my hours, and I want to dictate what I'm earning in these hours.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to be responsible for that, for the purpose of me raising my kid and being, you know, present, that kind of thing. So what does it look like now for you? Because I know there's that tension of especially with gents, where you're chasing the bag, or you're climbing the ladder, or whatever it is that you're working on or grinding on, just to develop yourself, better your family, and whatever the case is. But then you get something like, hey, I want you to be content. I need you to. How is that looking?
It has looked like dropping a lot.
Yeah.
So like the list I mentioned, that wasn't hard for the stuff. Like I've had to focus on things that I feel God has placed on my heart.
Yeah.
And the vision that God has placed on my heart.
Yeah.
And not just anything that's come my way.
Yeah.
Because things look nice, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's great to be doing a lot, but busy doesn't mean productive.
This is true.
You know what I mean? Like you could say you're working 18 hours a day, but really you're probably working 2.
Yeah. This is so true.
Yeah. So it became a matter of realizing, how much am I actually working? What am I actually doing? What am I paying attention to? What fulfills me? Because you find your energy from what fulfills you, right? And someone was like, you gotta find your passion. I'm like,
the passion chat is another big one.
Brother, my sister.
Yeah. Like
maybe let's work towards our passions.
Yeah.
Or work on them, not find.
Where are you finding it?
And how are you finding it?
Yeah.
And also that puts, like, I feel like that statement feels like it's giving the power to someone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Find your passion. Like you are going searching, and it must be somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But doesn't purpose matter more?
Sure.
You know, like, doesn't the ability to have lived an insanely great life, impacting as many people as possible, matter more?
Yeah.
I think that's the question I wake up with daily. Like, even on my LinkedIn, one of the pictures is on, like, the background is building ideas that matter. You know, like, let's do things that matter.
Yeah.
Not for clout.
Yeah.
Not to be recognized by others, but things that push the needle forward.
Yeah. Sure. No, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Look, I think the last one I'll leave it here, and is what is it, maybe in parting words, for a person our age right now, and it's this decade, and you know, it's this decade of our 20s, and Nchita is trying to just get life together, bro.
Let's go.
Pushing the bag, and there's that element, you know, like I agree 100% with the work ethic aspects of things. Like you wanna have a strong work ethic. Like if I'm working with someone, I wanna work with someone who I know, like, we're gonna get stuff done. You know, I'm not here for laziness or that complacency kind of aspects of stuff. But at the same time, I think as I'm learning and just growing, there's spaces where I need to kind of take a step back. There are moments where I need to rest. I'm starting to have to prioritize certain days. I'm like, my Saturday must look like this. I'm prioritizing family. I'm prioritizing rest. I'm prioritizing my own mental health. And I'm having to. There's this like kind of push-pull kind of space of like, you want to be productive and do things, but you also want to rest. You want to be doing so many things and putting your hand everywhere. What would you say to someone who's like in this space listening to this, and you know, our age group in this decade?
I'd say give yourself grace. You will not have it all figured out. You will not. We have this tendency to think we can control everything.
Yeah.
Sure. closest cousins once said to me, control is an illusion we make ourselves believe.
Yeah.
Right? In order to feel comfortable and safe.
Yeah.
And, bro,
yeah.
Like, when I thought about it, like, the idea that I can control, like, what happens in my next meeting.
Yeah.
Or the idea that I can control the outcome of me driving home.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like,
we really have no control.
You don't have control. Like, the only control you have is what's in your hands
right now.
Right now. What's in your hands, use that.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can't control everything else.
Yeah. You can't control the outcome.
You can't control the outcome.
Yeah. And
so, you can only control the environment you're in.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Exactly. Not absolute control.
Not absolute control. And so, I think the advice I would have is like, be content with that control, but also give yourself the grace to figure you out. Like you are allowed to rest as gents, especially. Like something I'm learning. I was having a chat earlier with a friend, and their first question was, "Have you been resting?" And I'm like, "Yes." For the first time in a while, I can say, "Yes, I've been resting." Saturdays are my days, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get my sleep in here and there when projects aren't too busy.
Yeah.
But prioritize yourself, and honestly just know that your work is not in vain, but also no experience is in vain, regardless of what you're doing. Like regardless of where you find yourself. Like someone may be a ShopRite teller today, or like a gardener, whatever. But you don't know where you'll be in the next 5. You know? You don't know where you'll be in the next 10.
Yeah.
Like, just keep believing in the vision and what's in your heart.
Yeah.
That would be my, I guess, advice. But I want to circle just because you said something quite interesting, and it tickled like a nerve. The idea that you would quit your job because there's a baby on the way.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm like, hey, my brother, I know we're men of faith, yeah? But that's why it's giving Noah vibes. It's giving you've either heard from the Lord and you're not telling the rest of us. Because, like, in my head, and I presume it's the same for you, in my head, I'm thinking budget, finances.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, formula, nappies, doctor's visits.
Provider. You know? Yeah.
And so I guess, what is it that enables you to make such a bold move without second guessing?
I'll say this. There's something that drives you, like how you spoke earlier about entrepreneurship, that it needs a certain level of delusion.
Yes.
I'll put it this way. Being a child and follower of God requires an even higher delusion.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you the Bible. I'll say go ahead and sit with it and just browse through it and read through all these different characters. They require a certain level of delusion to be able to then, now 1,000 years later, we read of these heroic stories and these very encouraging stories and moments in time where you see God doing something incredible with these people. And I've come to understand and firmly believe that for God to do something crazy and unbelievable in my life that will shock and transform my thinking, but not only my thinking, but you, Manny, and people around me and my kids and whoever else, and everybody who hears that story, it's going to require me to be delusional to some extent. So I've to be able to say the stuff I say, like I'm going to leave my job. By the way, it's not yet set in stone, and it's by no means even a timeline of when me leaving my job. I just know that after this current job I have, I don't have another lined up. I'm not applying for another. So when this one wraps up, I'm done. So it might be before the kid is born. It might be 6 months after the kid is born. But I just know that at some point in time, sooner rather than later, I want to find myself being available, physically for my child, raising them, and just being there and intentional about that. And for me to be able to do that, it's gonna mean cost something. Having that time, there's a cost. Positivity Jakes has said this. Bishop T.D. Jakes, he says, if you want me to be available. If you want me and want my time with me, that means I won't be able to provide as much as I can. But if you want me to provide at this level, then it's gonna cost you not seeing me as much. You know, so there's that push-pull tension again of like, if I'm gonna be home a lot, then there's just gonna be something that's maybe gonna be a bit less. You know, and if there's gonna be more of some kind of provision or some kind of material need, then there's just might be a bit less of my presence in that matter. And it's understanding that. That's a crazy thing that you're gonna have to understand, especially as a gent, to understand and say that, okay, if, for example, I am going to make sure I don't miss a birthday, I'm not gonna miss a soccer training, I'm not gonna miss a piano recital, I'm gonna be there for those big moments. If I'm gonna be there, it might mean that I'm not there for the big meetings. I'm not there abroad having that kind of business meeting or going to speak at that conference because I know that, you know, it's a graduation, so I need to be home for the graduation. So I'm gonna say no to that opportunity. I'm gonna say no to that gig. I'm gonna say no to that promotion. You know, so I'm able to say this because I have that that delusion of God. That's good. I'm good trusting. Yes, that's good collusion. So I have the peace of I know that there's the piece of me not working and me being at home. That's good. But then there's also, I'd be lying if I don't admit this, there's the anxiety as well of how, Lord? How then am I gonna afford all of that? And that's where the anxiety comes in. You know, like whenever I find myself a bit stressed and worried in this kind of season that I'm in, it's because I'm trying to figure out the why. I'm trying to figure out like how am I going to continue? Because right now as it stands, my wife also works, but I basically in monetary terms I'm the breadwinner. I'm bringing in more of the money in the household, majority of the money. So now if I'm the one who's going to take a step back from work, how, Lord? How's the rent? Let's for now, not even looking at the kid in the picture, just the two of us. If I go out of the picture right now, how is our household standing? So it's the how I'm trying to figure out. But again, I'll go to what you spoke of, the control aspect. I don't have it. So the reason why I'm able to kind of have these bold statements or like, okay, this is the direction I'm gonna go in, is because I know I don't have the control. And sometimes you have that false sense of control where because my paycheck is looking so much, I have control. I want to buy this, I can buy it. I want this, like, you know, and then, until you don't have that paycheck and you realize that, actually now I don't have it. So I'm starting to learn and understand that no matter the paycheck, how big it is, I still don't have control. That's good. No matter the influence I have or the amount of money at my disposal, I still don't have the control. No matter the opportunities that come along and you know how much I work and how I still don't have the control. So if I stay in my job and I do the responsible thing, you know, of working, maybe get another job and making sure that food is on the table, I'm still not gonna have the control. And already that's going to be a definite that I'm not going to have the control. What can be added to that is now the misery. Where now I'm just not happy. I'm just not fulfilled. Now dad is kind of all grumpy. Now dad doesn't want to play with me. Because I'm happy. But on the other hand, I still don't have the control of how I'm going to take care of my family. But what I'm seeing being added to that is, man, I'm spending time with my kid. I'm raising my kid. We're going to the park, or hey, I'm figuring this out, being a dad for the first time. I put the nappy backwards, I need to do it the other way around, and they peed on me while I was doing that. I'm going through these milestones, I'm doing this, and for me, thinking of that is like, that's so much fulfillment, and that makes me so happy, and it's so much peace in there. So I'd rather have peace in the midst of the lack of control, rather than I don't have the control, but then I'm not even at peace. You know, I'm making the bag, but it's leaving me really miserable and just empty and stuff. So I think I'm at that place where I'm like, the bag is not fulfilling. So let me be fulfilled, and hopefully there's another way the bag can still be secured, you know, if that makes sense. So yeah, man, I think it's that disillusion again for me, and God is for me my disillusion. I usually say, I used to say this many times, even years ago, that I God has made me, I don't trust reality anymore. You know, when people are like, no, I'm just being realistic. I don't trust reality anymore because so many times God has showed up in my life and just showed how reality is not real. Just flip the table. Reality just became not real anymore, you know. And he still does that. Even now, as you can continue, it's like he still shows up in moments where it's like, whoa, the situation was saying this is what it is and it's done, and then he just flips the script and it's like, whoa, okay. So I don't trust reality. I don't move by reality anymore, and I don't move by the norm or what has become social norm or social, you know, acceptance in certain things. I'm just like, okay, it doesn't make sense. Like I have some moments I feel something, I'm like, okay, cool, God, I feel like you're pulling me in this direction. And for me, one of the main things is the peace of it. I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. But I'll be like,
hey, but
man,
wait,
like how? I'm like, I'm trying to solve for X. I'm like, I'm not seeing this, Lord. You know, I'm not like, you know, like imagine God told you now, and He's like, you see that building you're talking about, you're gonna have it by the end of this month. You're gonna be like, my credit score is not aligning. I don't have a proper business proposal. How is the bank going to accept this? You know, you already understand how financial institutions work. So you're going to be like, how? You know? And what I'm understanding more and more as a local God is that it's not up to me to understand the how.
How?
You know, when Moses was told to go to Pharaoh and tell him, hey, let my people go, says the Lord. He didn't have to figure out, and he tried to be like, I'm going to speak. I'm not influential. I stutter. He was trying to figure out the why, and God doesn't give him the how. He doesn't give him the how. He just says, I've sent you. Go. I've sent you. And so I'm starting to be comfortable with He's going to say things, or He's going to plant things in my heart, and He's not going to give me the how. No matter how much I fast and pray for it or beg for it, He might not give me the how. Because it's not for me to actually know the how. Because if I now know the how, it can be easy for me to be like, I did this.
Amen. Credit it's not due.
So because I don't know the how, when it comes together and Manny comes to me and he's like, bro, how did you do this? I'm like, so you can't look at me and be like, this is a great man. I'm like,
wasn't me.
Bro.
It really wasn't me.
Can I tell you? Let me let you in the secret. I felt so crazy. I thought I need to check myself into a psychiatric ward because I don't know how, but here it is. So even now, man, I don't know. That's why I'm like, I haven't even put a nail on it to be like, I'm gonna leave my job. I just know in the back of my head, my wife and I even agree on it. And that's the other crazy thing of the piece. You know, I spoke to my wife and I'm like, I'd like to do this. I'd like for us to be hands-on raising the kid, and the way it looks, it makes more sense if I stay at home. She was like, yeah, I agree, and I love that idea. And I was like, if she says that, then I'm not crazy. I'm not. She's a sharpshooter. She's a straight shooter. If I'm saying something, she's like, what are you saying? You know. Then I'm like, okay, let me go check. I think I'm being crazy now. But you know, the fact that she was like, yeah, I like that idea. I was like, okay, I guess you're on some track.
That's good.
We don't know how. You know. So maybe next time we chat, I'll be like, bro, this is how it happened. I didn't know it doesn't happen like that, but this is how it happened. You know, but I think that's my disillusion again, to be like, it's God, man. It's really God.
Sure.
Yeah.
To God, to all things.
100%. My G, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the chat. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it, man.